Hello and welcome to Friends of State. I'm your host Lucine and with me is B. Say hi, B.
Hi.
Today we're watching brutal cave diving videos. I mean, why are we doing this again?
Content. Pods fam, we do a lot for you guys.
Today we will be
We
looking
sit through these brutal, unnerving, horrible videos and
You threw up on my carpet
Well-
last time.
yep. Today you'll have to sit through one with us. So, shall we get stuck into it?
Well, I hope they don't get stuck in. Let's do it.
at two horrifying caving stories
Okay.
that went horribly
Two?
wrong.
Wait, what the fuck's happening in this one? Look, there's like stuff falling in.
Oh man, we'll see.
As always, viewer discretion is advised. It was the more
Viewer discretion. This is our last chance. You sure you want to do this?
I'm sure anything for Pods fam.
What do these people, before we start, why do you think they go cave diving? Like, what's in it for them?
Gratification.
I guess
Delayed gratification.
Yeah. You get a sense of achievement after you come out, maybe. I hate to
No,
say
maybe
it,
when
but
you're like
for-
in the thick of it.
Oh, well, then you're like right in the tunnel. I hate to say it, but for some of these people, this might be delayed splatification, you know, like, I don't know if they're making it home. That's what.
morning
Like
of
days
July
later.
4th,
Like days
1976.
later.
And Bob Custard had done this particular move more times
Custard.
than
No
he
way
could
his name
count.
was Bob Custard.
The Friars Hole system in West Virginia is
The
one
Friar's Hole. The Friar's
of
Hole.
the
okay.
longest cave systems in the eastern United States. A vast and complex network of passages that draws serious underground explorers from across the country. And the Crookshank entrance is one of the ways in.
Crookshank.
Not the easiest way,
Jesus.
not a casual tourist entry,
Let's go in the Crookshank entrance.
but a working entrance used regularly by experienced people who know
Well, no, it's still used like regularly by experts. Like they said, this is one of the biggest in the US states.
the system and have made their peace with what
Easy.
it asks of them physically. On that July 4th morning, Bob Custard was part of a larger group using the entrance, moving through in sequence, each person taking the obstacles in turn, while the others waited their moment. The entrance
Sounds
pit
the same
drops about
hiding spot.
100
So he was
feet,
like
30
fourth in
meters,
line.
and takes a
Is this
small
where
stream
Saddam
at the
Hussein was
bottom,
hiding?
usually quite manageable.
Say again?
Is this where Saddam Hussein was hiding?
The
Well, that
kind
was
of
only
water
6
feature
feet
that
down. This
carries
is a bit
logs and
further.
debris in during high flow and leaves them there when the water drops, which is relevant because about 100 feet, 30 meters further into the cave from the base of the pit, the passage narrows down and requires a 20 feet around 6.1 meters, climb down through what is essentially a log
6.1 meters. That's about how tall I am.
jam. Logs and debris carried in by the
I'll leave my
stream
phone number in the description for any ladies watching.
over the years had accumulated at this narrow section, wedged between
Or men.
the wall
Or anyone
Stop.
else.
and the floor.
Just watch it.
And over time, the people who use this entrance regularly had developed an informal relationship with one particular log. A large one,
informal
nailed
relationship
solidly
with
against
the
the rock
log.
walls, from which you could suspend your full body weight on the way down through the constriction. It had been used this way by many people over many
Why did he
years.
phrase it like that?
Custard
I
himself
don't
had
know. I
used
thought
it
they were going to have informal relationships with each other. I mean, they've been painted.
How would you have a formal
painted in the
relationship
cave.
with an inanimate object?
I don't know. I bet it's going to
numerous
like
times.
break though.
It was simply part of the entrance sequence, as familiar and unremarkable as any other feature of a route you have done repeatedly. Something you stop thinking about because it has always been there and has always held, and there is no particular reason
How
to
many fucking
believe
times
today
does
will
Bob
be
has to
different.
go here?
Custard was about fourth in line.
I like his pose. Like, look at the legs. Like, that's a
Dominance.
solid V shape. That's an obtuse angle right there.
The people ahead of him had already negotiated the log climb and moved on into the cave beyond, which put him just out of earshot of the group in front. Close enough that he was still part of the same general operation, far enough that the people ahead couldn't see or hear him clearly. He reached the log jam, positioned
behind?
himself the way he always did, and put his weight on the log. The log had been sitting in that narrow section for long enough that the wood on the sides where it pressed against the rock walls had softened. Not visibly, not in any way that announced itself to
Christ.
someone gripping it and preparing to descend, just the quiet, invisible
better grip that log.
deterioration that wood undergoes when it sits in a damp cave environment for years.
Maybe his name is nominative determinism. You know, when your name says something about you, because he's going to get turned to
Yeah.
custard.
Pressed against stone, cycling through wet and dry and wet again, until the fibers on the contact surfaces lose the structural integrity that had made the log useful in the first place. When Custard's full body weight came onto it, those softened contact points gave way simultaneously, and the log dropped. He dropped with it and landed hard on his back in a reclining position against the cave wall, the impact driving him into the rock
Was it
surface
really like
behind
that?
him. The
Wait,
wall
wait,
he had
wait,
fallen
wait.
against was not smooth.
Like the log's about to
It
fall
was
on him.
studded with sharp,
Holy
spiky
shit.
rock protrusions that jutted outward from the
A
surface.
fate worse
And
than
when his
Chase
back made
Laters.
contact with them, they dug into his skin immediately, several of them pressing hard enough to break through and draw blood. The cave wall suddenly feeling less like a surface, and more like something with intent. Before he could process any of that,
Okay,
the
cool.
log came down across his pelvis and upper
No.
thighs. Several hundred
His
pounds of
pelvis.
saturated timber, landing with a force that drove him harder into those same rock points behind him and pinned him completely in place. He tried to get up.
Oh, he's
That was the
alive.
instinct,
Pretty unfortunate.
the immediate
Yeah.
automatic human response
It'd
to
be boring if he
pain,
wasn't
which is to
alive.
move away from the source of it. And he put whatever he had
animation.
into trying to shift the log off his body so he could at least pull himself forward and away from the rocks that were digging into his back. The log did not move. Several hundred pounds of waterlogged
Place
wood
the
pressed
closer of the
across
log.
his pelvis was not something his arms and legs could shift from the position he was in,
Cool
and
for
every
him.
effort he made to push himself
No,
upward
do
or
you not hear?
forward
They're
met
out of
the
earshot.
same
But, like, the
immovable
people behind him.
resistance. And then his body made its
No.
own decision.
Wait, they're just gonna. Well, I guess they can't come down, can they?
The way bodies
Yeah,
do
but they
when
know
they
he's
are
there at
caught
least.
between two sources of serious pain with no resolution available.
What's the body
It
do?
collapsed back down, his muscles giving out, gravity taking him back into the reclining position against the wall, and the sharp rocks behind him found their places again, and the pain from his back flared alongside the crushing weight across his pelvis, and he lay there pinned between the two, unable to go forward and unable to bear going back.
Poor
And he
soul.
yelled.
Bob.
Art Palmer was close enough to hear it.
Oh,
He climbed down through the
Very
constriction to
stupid
where
names.
Custard was pinned, assessed what he was looking at in the compressed and practical way that people assess
you know, I don't know if Art Palmer will save him, but I think Colt Palmer probably could have saved him.
situations when there is no time for anything else, and got his hands under one end of the log. What followed was the kind of effort that does not look heroic from the outside, but is one person generating enough force to
How was
lift
the rope
one
still
end of a
hanging
several hundred-pound waterlogged piece of timber high enough and long enough for another person to roll free from underneath it in a narrow cave passage with bad
Such a
footing
hero.
and nothing to brace against. He did it. Custard rolled clear.
Custard.
Peggy
Yes.
Palmer had come down behind Art.
Peggy Palmer.
And
Why is the
first thing
woman?
they did
paying-
once Custard was
Sure,
free
she's
was
a
get to
woman.
his back. The rock protrusions had
Ooh.
done real damage. Multiple puncture wounds
Well,
and
why is she
lacerations
sliding back and
across the
forth?
That's that animation. It's been here all along. Look at those clean wounds.
skin where the jagged points had been dug throughout the ordeal, some of them bleeding steadily, all of them needing to be cleaned and dressed before anything else happened. They worked through it with whatever first aid supplies the
Look at
group
them
was
slipping
carrying,
around.
cleaning the wounds as best they could in the conditions available, and bandaging the worst of them. Custard wincing through the
Lots of
process
that.
with the particular stoicism of someone who has just had several hundred pounds of wood across his pelvis, and
Yeah, I
has
can relate to that.
recalibrated his threshold for what
Beat me to
constitutes
it.
additional discomfort. Then they examined him properly, moving his limbs, checking his responses, working through the assessment that would determine what happened next. The result came back negative for broken bones, which was both a relief
What?
and a decision point.
How did he
If
not
nothing was
break
broken
anything?
and Custard could move, the question
don't
became
know.
how to get him
I thought he
out.
broke his pelvis.
Because he was going to need proper medical attention and the Crookshank entrance, back through the log jam, up the 100-foot, 30-meter pit, was not the route he was
Shit.
going to manage today. Not in this condition. The Snedegar entrance was about a mile away through the cave system.
Snedegar.
A horizontal
mile.
passage that
What?
avoided the vertical work of the Crookshank
It's
route
huge.
entirely,
Oh
and
yeah.
offered a walkout rather than a climb out.
Oh, he looks fine now.
Still a mile of cave terrain.
That's
for a
not
man
him.
who had just
Huh.
taken a several hundred-pound log across his pelvis and had a back full of rock wounds, but a mile of manageable terrain rather than the alternative. The decision was made without much deliberation, and Art and Peggy Palmer positioned themselves on either side of Custard, and they started moving.
What is the Fellowship
The
of the
trip
Ring
took
was
about
directed
2
with this?
hours. What Bob Custard experienced during those 2 hours was the gradual onset of shock, his body pulling back from the periphery and concentrating its resources on keeping him functional at the most basic level. He was still moving, still putting one foot in front of the other with the help of the Palmers on either side of him. But he was fading, and they knew it, and the mile to the Snedegar entrance was
fading.
not closing as fast as any of
Damn
them would have
it.
liked. But then,
Hold on,
eventually he
Bob.
made it. He
made
walked
it.
out of the Snedegar entrance and to medical attention, and the diagnosis confirmed what the inside of his body had been communicating for the past 2 hours. Deep bone bruises to the pelvis, serious and slow to heal, the kind of injury that does not show up on a basic field examination, but announces itself thoroughly in the days and weeks that follow. He would go on to make a full recovery.
Yeah,
It was March of 19...
that's our Bob.
But I prefer when they die.
Yeah, hopefully the second one will die. It does say just their body's getting wedged, which doesn't mean they die, but you'd think at least one of them dies.
But we saw the preview and you pointed out like there's something falling on them.
Yeah, that was like a lizard or something. I guess we'll see.
What is it?
I wanna give like an addendum to this though, the one we just watched. It doesn't say this, but Art and Peggy Palmer, they actually had a kid after this, and his name was Cole. We'll discuss that more in a later video.
Ready one, and John Burkle, Steve Knutson, and Todd Rasmussen were several...
Oh, wait.
Todd Rasmussen.
Pause it. Who do you think is going to die or get brutally wedged? I think it's going to be the middle one.
I was about to say, how do we?
Just go back 10
one,
seconds.
and John Burkle, Steve Knutson, and Todd
John
John
Rasmussen.
Gurkin is a stupid ass name.
It's definitely Steve Knutson. He's like, let me think.
They've all got-
Steve Jobs, but like worse.
They've all got similar builds, so I don't see that playing into it.
They're all the same bits, just the same
But
B&G.
Todd Rasmussen,
Okay,
the guy
I'm
who
putting my
explored
bets
the
on
Arctic
Steve.
was called like something Rasmussen, so I think
Okay, you do him, Ben.
Todd would be a navigator. I'll go with Todd. Are you going with
Okay.
Steve?
But if he's a navigator, then surely he's like an experienced navigator.
Yeah, okay,
so
I'll go
there's
with John.
Less chance he get wedged. Yeah, I'm going with Steve.
Were
How much do you want to bet? 100,000 yuan.
several days into a cave scouting
10 million
expedition on the high karst plateau in Alta Verapaz, Guatemala. The plateau is the kind of place that draws serious explorers, remote, largely unexplored, sitting at high elevation above the lowland jungle with a limestone geology that promises cave systems of real depth and extent if you are willing to put in the work to find them. The three of them had been doing exactly that, moving across the plateau day
Wait,
by
they
day,
found one.
scanning
Just exploring remote caves in the
Yeah,
Guatemala.
that's even worse.
the terrain
But
for the
it wasn't
depressions
like
and
a,
openings and subtle signs that
maps
indicate a
one.
cave entrance.
Yeah.
Burkle stayed in camp that day while Knutson and Rasmussen set out
It's
without
got to be
him,
Rasmussen.
each
then.
carrying their own carbide lamps, hiking several miles across the plateau together, following the terrain. While exploring, they found a pit. The opening was partly obscured by a tangle of dry brush
Why would you
at the
ever
lip,
go into a
the kind of
cave
scrubby vegetation
like
that
this that you
colonizes
just
the
found?
edges of
Look
karst
at them scrubbing back
depressions
and
on
forth.
tropical
Whatever, keep going.
enough to require some navigation on the way through. They rigged a rope, and before descending, set their carbide lamps down near the rim.
They're just going into a pit.
The small open flames burning quietly in the still plateau air, while they stepped through the brush and dropped into the 40-foot, 12-meter entrance pit below. Neither of them noticed anything wrong. They preferred using their flashlights below. The lamps sat there in the dry brush, burning the way carbide lamps
One of their pickaxes just low-key fell over.
always burn,
I don't know,
steadily,
it's-
reliably, with the small open flame that makes them useful underground and makes them something else entirely when they are sitting unattended next to dry vegetation on a remote
I see
plateau
what's gonna
with nobody
happen.
watching
I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be some kind of gas, but no, they're just...
them. At the bottom of the entrance pit, a sloping
They're gonna break
passage
that
led
up
them
here.
forward and deeper, opening eventually into a second pit
Who put that there?
required a second rope. This one was about
Who
80
put it
feet,
there?
24 meters deep. A serious drop,
them slide.
the kind that takes time and full attention to negotiate. But when they reached the floor and looked around for a continuation, the cave gave them nothing. Solid walls in every
Shit.
direction. A shaft that went down and stopped. They had come a
They got
long way
shafted.
across the plateau for a lead that ended at the bottom of an 80-foot, 24-meter hole. And
It's
now
gotta be
they
some
had to
bullshit.
climb back out through
Oh, I'm
both
pretty sure
drops,
the gas lamps explode, and that's what we saw. It was
up
gas.
the second rope,
Yeah, that's what
and
I was
through the
thinking.
connecting
Climbing out.
passage
I
and
think
up
it's
the
gas.
first rope, back to the surface and the lamps they had
think
left
that's what it
burning
is.
at the rim. Rasmussen
Yeah.
started up the second rope first. He fed himself into
So
the
he had no-
80-foot, 24-meter climb with the steady rhythm of
Rasmussen
someone
definitely gets more girls than like Steve Blurge or whatever
has
his
done
name
this
was.
Yeah, but
many
Rasmussen's
times.
going first. He's gonna
Ascenders
die.
moving in sequence, weight shifting with
They
each
might both
upward
get stuck.
push. the rope holding firm above him as he rose through the shaft. The cave was quiet around him, in the way that deep pits are quiet. The sound
It's kind of tough.
What's
I mean,
your
it is a
favourite
deep
deep
pit?
pit?
But that doesn't make fucking sense. It is a
sounds of
deep
the
pit.
surface completely absent. Nothing to hear except his own breathing
3D
and the
animation.
mechanical work of the ascending gear against the
Holy
rope.
shit.
Then something
made
fell
that, by the way.
past him. A branch, burning. It dropped through the shaft from somewhere above, tumbling end over end past his position on the rope, trailing a thread of orange light through the darkness before disappearing into the
goofy as
black
hell.
below him. Then another. Then several more. Flaming pieces of brush falling through the
Right,
cave
so he's burned his
from the
boat
entrance
before.
pit above, passing through the connecting
don't
passage and
think
down
they're
the second
flammable.
shaft, raining past Rasmussen as he climbed. He looked up
Rasmussen.
and saw smoke filtering down from the passage above, thickening as he watched, and behind the smoke,
He's in the
the
thick of it
suggestion
now.
of an orange glow coming from the direction of the surface entrance. He understood immediately what had happened. The carbide lamps, the dry brush at the lip of the entrance pit, the open flames they
Bro,
had
he's
left
cooked.
burning unattended while they descended, sitting in the middle of the kind of vegetation that does not need much encouragement to
That's
catch,
just like right next to where the pickaxes were. How do they get out of that?
and apparently had not needed much, because the brush
no.
had smoldered so gradually and so quietly after the lamps ignited it that neither of them had noticed anything in the time between when they descended and now,
How long
which
were
meant
we
the
there?
fire had been building the whole time they were below, feeding itself through the dry scrub.
Can they just surely like staying down there is good because hot air rises, so it'll just be the cool air coming
Yeah.
down.
The surface entrance, while Knutson and Rasmussen moved through the cave below it with no idea.
Do you think they call him Steve Nuts for short? Steve Nuts.
He moved faster.
Steve Nuts is a good name.
The thought that took hold of him during that ascent was not complicated, but it was absolute. If the fire at the surface entrance burned through the rope, where it passed over the breakover at the lip of the first pit, he would fall. Not the 80 feet, 24
Christ.
meters of the second shaft, because he was already climbing out of that, but back down through the connecting passage and whatever distance remained between him and solid ground, in the dark, in a
Shit.
remote section of a Guatemalan plateau,
How would
where
other
Burkle was
people know they were
miles
in
away
there,
in
though?
camp,
Yeah.
with his carbide
Burkle
lamp
will
on
never
a
find
flat
them.
rock outside the tent, and where no rescue infrastructure existed,
Is his
within
carbide
any
lamp also
meaningful
gonna
distance,
explode?
and where nobody was going to find it. That was the thought, complete and specific and accurate, and it repeated itself with every move of the ascenders as the smoke thickened around him, and the burning branches continued to fall.
Bro, it's
and
his
the
fault
orange
for
glow
doing this
above him
stupid bullshit.
steadily brighter and more defined.
Loving
as he
family,
climbed
by the
toward
way.
it. He came up through the connecting passage and into the base of the entrance pit and looked up the final 40 feet, 12 meters, to the
He's doing a good job of
surface.
Is there really
And what he
constantly twigs coming from like a Donkey
Holy
Kong?
The brush around the
Ring of
entire
Fire.
rim of the
This
This
entrance
shit looks
pit
like
was
Donkey
burning.
Kong.
A ring of fire at the lip,
does.
flames consuming the
Ring,
dry
what the
scrub
hell
in
is
every
this?
direction around the
Why
opening.
is Satan summoned
Smoke
on it?
pouring downward
Why
into
is
the
Doctor
shaft,
Strange's
and the
portal
heat
there?
radiating down from above. The rope ran straight up through the middle of it, passing over a tree root at the breakover point at the very lip of the pit. And the tree root was the one piece of the rim not yet fully alight.
One Piece.
The last
If you watch
intact
One Piece,
point
you
in the
know what to do
system,
here.
the single feature still doing its job, and the fire was working its way toward it from both sides. He climbed the
damn
final
it.
40 feet, 12
Rasmussen.
meters, as fast as he had ever
Dodge.
climbed anything. The smoke
on,
was
my
thick
boy.
That
enough
one went
now that
through
his
his head.
eyes were streaming, and each breath pulled heat into his lungs
I
alongside
like how there's
the
occasionally this PNG that falls through when the rest
But no,
of
he
them-
must have survived to tell the
air,
story.
and the
Yeah.
falling debris from the burning brush
Steve
above
Nuts might
kept
not be
coming
so
down
lucky.
around him as he moved, and the rope above him was running through the heart of
Holy
the
shit.
fire
This is
at
some
the
Sauron
lip,
type
and he could
shit.
not tell from below whether it was holding
It's
or whether it was
targeting him.
already beginning to weaken, and he climbed anyway because there was nothing else to do.
This is like the Pokemon Hoopla movie.
Every foot of rope he gained
Holy
was a foot
Pete.
closer to the surface and a foot less of potential fall, and he fed the ascenders upward one movement at a time through the heat and the smoke until he came through the lip of the entrance pit and threw himself away from the burning brush and
wait.
onto the open plateau
This Ring
and
of Fire
turned
is
around
gone.
and looked at the rope. It was smoldering. The section that had been passing through the burning brush at the breakover was darkened and smoking, the fibers on the outer surface charred
Can you
and
do something
weakened,
about it
a
instead?
thin thread of
Um,
smoke
going
rising
back
from
and
it in the
forth.
still air,
Yeah.
not burned through,
He's
not
pacing probably, trying to work out what to do.
yet. but far enough along that the difference between what it was and what it needed to be to hold a person's weight safely was no longer a comfortable margin. Rasmussen beat out the smoldering section quickly,
So what about
pressing the
other
burning
things?
fibers
He's
out
just
before
dead,
they
probably,
could
he's gonna be
progress
cut
further.
there. Well,
And
at least
then looked at the
Rasmussen, he's
fire
got
still
Anna, he knows where he is.
consuming the
Rasmussen was
brush
first,
around
wouldn't
the
it make
pit
sense?
rim.
But he.
It was already
Why did the
beginning
guy
to
behind
die.
him die?
The brush at the entrance was dry
He's stuck
but not
down there.
extensive. By the time Knutson completed his own ascent up both ropes, the 80-foot, 24-meter second
No.
pitch, and then the 40-foot, 12-meter entrance pit, the fire was nearly out. The rim blackened
so
and
chilly.
smoking gently. The rope coiled and
Wait.
checked, and the situation settling from
Whoa,
what it had
chilly.
almost been into something that could be survived.
It's crazy if you look here, how the smoke is like, look at the perfect edge of the smoke, like it just stops right here.
and
crazy.
described. They walked back across the plateau to camp in the late afternoon
What the
light,
shit?
and Burkle was there with his carbide
Their bodies didn't get red.
lamp still sitting on the flat rock outside the tent.
Wait, do you think
exactly
the title was
where
just describing the first guy? And the second one was
I
like a
think
bonus
so.
story? Ah.
he had left it that morning, unchanged and ordinary. They told him what had happened, and the three of them sat with him,
Just lads?
sit with
Keep
near
going.
misses that were close enough to feel the specific shape of the alternative. A few more minutes below, a slightly faster progression through the brush, and the smoldering would have become a burn-through.
None
And the
of them
story of
hit
that
him,
afternoon on the Alta Verapaz plateau
I guess this is just the
would have
burn
ended at the
story.
bottom of a pit, with no one coming to write it
The
down.
gun on fire!
What the fuck is the MRI? As you know, I know about that, but why did the gun fire? We have to watch that
Did
next.
someone
Can
bring
you
a
save
gun
that?
into an MRI room?
Can you save that to watch later?
I'll save
Have
this
you ever
one
been
to
in
watch
an
later.
MRI?
Today we will be looking
Yeah.
at two
It's a common thing
horrifying...
for
Really?
epilepsy. And I've seen all these stories. Okay,
Save it to watch
we'll save this
later.
to watch later. We'll save it to Infographics, which is a public channel. How's our video doing while we're at it? 10 views, 15 views, not bad, not bad.
Hey, stop! We have to make an outro.
Okay, well, thank you all for watching Footsound. Thank you very much. I think this has been a really informative video, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's a big step from our last main channel video, but reacting to ReZero.
Yeah, we've come so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, when
from
Steve
Fortnite challenges to informational videos.
when Steve
on
Nutson
Steve
pulled himself
Nuts.
out, I felt that hit my nuts. I'll be honest. Goodbye,
I felt the
Footsound.
searing in my nuts.
We'll see you in the next one. Stay hot, stay frosty. Be any last words?
Stay fought. Goodbye.
Just remember, if your FOTS does this, it's game over.